Drinking okra water for 5 days changed everything. This is what happens when you soak okra pods in a jar of water overnight, drink the liquid for 5 days, and then ask whether anything measurable actually changed. This is the story of a viral wellness trend that borrowed a real mechanism from real science, stripped out the dose, and promised a transformation that the underlying research does not describe. Okra water asks almost nothing of you. You wash 2 to 4 fresh pods, trim the ends, slice them in half lengthwise, and drop them into a glass jar with 8 to 12 ounces of water. The jar sits covered for at least 8 hours, usually overnight. Come morning, you fish out the pods, strain the liquid, throw the pods in the bin, and drink what is left behind. Cold or room temperature water does the job, never boiling. People describe the taste as mild and faintly earthy, closer to cucumber than to anything you would expect from a vegetable this slippery. Mucilage is what you are actually drinking. That is the gel that makes okra famous in the kitchen and infamous among everyone who cannot stand the texture, and it is built from polysaccharides along with a little protein and a few minerals. Sliced pods sitting in water for hours shed some of that gel into the liquid, which is why okra water carries a faint thickness instead of tasting like tap water. Madison Reeder, a registered dietitian and director of clinical operations at Modify Health, described the process in one line. During the soak, some of the soluble fiber disperses into the liquid, creating a slightly viscous drink. Influencers on TikTok and Instagram built the trend, and the pitch stretches remarkably far. Followers credit okra water with regulating blood sugar, driving weight loss, repairing gut health, flattening bloating, clearing skin, boosting immunity, rebuilding tissue, strengthening bones, and increasing vaginal lubrication. The drink earned a spot on the roundups of the most talked about TikTok food trends of 2024. One number belongs in your head while you scroll through any of those videos, because a survey run by MyFitnessPal and Dublin City University concluded that only around 2% of clips on the platform carry accurate diet and nutrition advice. Enthusiasm was never in question here. The evidence is, and the evidence starts with the vegetable rather than the jar. Okra goes by the formal name Abelmoschus esculentus, a flowering plant in the mallow family, and the seed pod is the part that ends up on a plate. Much of the world calls it lady's finger. 100 grams of raw okra delivers roughly 30 calories, about 3 grams of dietary fiber, 2 grams of protein, and 7 grams of carbohydrate. That same portion carries around 49 micrograms of vitamin K, which covers about 41% of the daily value, plus roughly 148 micrograms of folate at about 37%, and vitamin C at about 36% of daily recommended levels. Magnesium and potassium both show up in meaningful amounts. Those figures trace back to USDA data as reported through standard nutrition databases. Rachel Murphy, senior clinical dietitian at UTMB Anderson Cancer Center, runs through what okra brings with it. Calcium and magnesium support bone health. Fiber drives satiety and vitamins. A and C sit alongside a set of phenols and flavonoids. She also names what rides along in the same pod, including vitamin K, oxalates, and fructans, and every one of those 3 comes back later in this story. Laboratory chemistry has gone deeper than any nutrition label. Researchers measuring okra found total polyphenols and total polysaccharides at 29, 5% in 14, 8% in the seeds, and 25% in 43, 1% in the skins. High-performance liquid chromatography pulled out 5 individual phenolic compounds: isoquercitrin, protocatechoic acid, quercetin-3, O-gentiobioside, quercetin, and rutin. Isoquercitrin and quercetin, 3-O-gentiobioside dominate the group. Across different cultivars, isoquercitrin ranged from 380/74 to N76, 96 micrograms per gram of dry weight, while quercetin ran far lower, from 119 to 11, 47 micrograms per gram. One detail sits buried in that chemistry, and it matters enormously by the end of this video. Total flavonoids, isoquercitrin, and quercetin-3, O-gentiobios, turned up only in okra seeds. Seeds are the part you strain out and discard. Blood sugar carries the loudest claim attached to this trend, so the evidence there deserves the closest look. Frontiers in Pharmacology published a systematic review and meta-analysis in 2023 that pooled 8 clinical studies covering 331 patients with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. Those studies ran between 2017 and 2022 across Indonesia, Iran, and the Philippines. Okra reached the participants in several shapes, including powder ranging from 0 6 grams down to 1,000 milligrams, hydroalcoholic extract at 50 and 200 milligrams, and a 250 milliliter immersion preparation. Some swallowed capsules, some stirred it into yogurt, and some simply ate it. Intervention periods stretched anywhere from 3 hours to 12 weeks, though most settled at 8 weeks. Fasting blood glucose dropped by 14.63 milligrams per deciliter in the pooled result, with a 95% confidence interval running from -25 to -4. DOO and a p-value of 0.07. Heterogeneity stayed low at 33%, which means the studies broadly agreed with each other. That reduction is real and statistically significant. Glycated hemoglobin told a completely different story. HbA1c shifted by 0.01%, with a confidence interval spanning -0.51 to +0.54 and a p-value of 0.96. A number gets no closer to zero effect than that one. 2 years later, phytotherapy research published a newer meta-analysis restricted to randomized controlled trials, and the picture shifted. 6 RCTs, 387 participants in the fasting glucose analysis, doses running from 3 to 20 grams daily as powdered fruit, capsules, and fresh fruit preparations. Durations spanned 2 weeks to 3 months, and the trials came out of Iran, China, and Indonesia. Fasting blood glucose fell further this time by 21.72 milligrams per deciliter, with a confidence interval from -36.86 to -6.58 and a p-value of 0.05. HbA1c finally moved, dropping 0.42% with a confidence interval from -0.64 to -0.19 and a p-value below 0.01. The newer analysis found the long-term marker that the older one had missed entirely. Everything else came back empty. Insulin levels held steady at a p-value of 0.498. Insulin resistance measured through HOMA-IR held steady at 0.566. BMI refused to budge significantly at 0.2020, and body weight landed at a point estimate of 0.83 kilograms with a p-value of 0.38. The authors did not oversell their own dataset. They wrote that the small number of included RCTs and the relatively small sample sizes may limit the ability to fully assess the impact. Variability in dosages, formulations, and intervention durations drove the heterogeneity in their results, and they called for future research aimed specifically at drug interactions and adverse effects. That split between the two analyses on HbA1c deserves a moment. 2 research teams examined overlapping pools of small trials from a handful of countries and walked away disagreeing about the single most important long-term marker in diabetes care. Thin evidence looks exactly like that. Cholesterol forms the second pillar of the Okra claim, and here the numbers line up more cleanly. In October 2024, the International Journal of Molecular Sciences published a systematic review and meta-analysis on Okra and dyslipidemia. 8 clinical trials, 9 treatment arms, 552 participants in total, broken into 271 people with type 2 diabetes, 130 with prediabetes or impaired glucose tolerance, 55 with diabetic nephropathy, and 96 sitting in the overweight to obese range. Okra arrived as capsules, powder, tea, and water immersion at doses running from 105 milligrams to 20 grams daily over 2 to 12 weeks. Total cholesterol dropped with a standardized mean difference of -0.53 and a p-value of 0.025. LDL, the marker cardiologists watch hardest, fell with a standardized mean difference of -0.35 and a p-value of 0.04. Triglycerides slid with a standardized mean difference of -0.24 at a p-value of 0.035. HDL climbed with a standardized mean difference of +0.34 and a p-value of 0.014. All 4 markers moved the direction you would want, and all 4 cleared statistical significance. The same caveats followed the authors home. Doses and durations varied widely. An effective dose still needs standardizing, and the trials ran primarily in Asian regions, which limits how far the findings travel. A laboratory finding slots in neatly beside that. When researchers compared vegetables for their ability to bind bile acids, okra bound significantly more than every other vegetable tested. Animal studies pushed further, showing okra's water fraction cutting total cholesterol, triglycerides, LDL, and VLDL, while the mucilage raised the HDL fraction. Those results came out of animals, and they belong in the animal column. The mechanism behind all of this explains why a slippery vegetable touches blood sugar and cholesterol at all. Viscous soluble fiber forms a gel inside the gastrointestinal tract. That gel slows gastric emptying and cuts the rate at which glucose crosses the wall of the small intestine, which meant sugar arrives in the bloodstream gradually instead of flooding in. Okra also restrains alpha-glucosidase, the enzyme that chops carbohydrates into glucose, and researchers have noted that this enzyme inhibition modulates post-meal blood sugar. Dietary fiber attacks the glucose problem through several routes at once. It delays gastric emptying by raising viscosity. It shifts intestinal hormone levels. It builds starch-fiber complexes that change how digestible starch becomes. It blocks amylase activity. It slows the diffusion and absorption of sugars along the way. Cholesterol runs on a different track entirely. Mucilage grabs bile acids and carries them out of the body, and that forces the liver to pull cholesterol out of the blood to manufacture replacements, which drops blood cholesterol as a downstream consequence. Mucilage also binds cholesterol directly inside the digestive tract before it ever gets absorbed. None of that qualifies as fringe science. It is standard, well-mapped fiber physiology, taught for decades. Here is the catch that sits at the center of this entire trend. Every mechanism described above was demonstrated at a clinical dose. The trials handed out powder, capsules, standardized extracts, and whole okra measured in grams. The trend hands you 3 okra pods, a jar of tap water, and instructions to throw the pods away. That gap has been stated plainly by people who went looking for it. The mucilage yield from a home cold soak has never been characterized or compared against trial doses. All human evidence traces back to whole okra or standardized extracts, and none of it comes from the overnight soak. The trend preparation amounts to a consumer artifact rather than a clinical dose, and the count of human randomized controlled trials backing the overnight soak specifically sits at 0. A second distortion hides inside the research itself. Many okra studies rely on powdered okra supplement instead of whole fresh okra. Powdered okra flour holds 7 to 10% moisture, while raw whole okra runs 90% water. Gram for gram, the supplement feeding those trials packs a far heavier dose than anything sitting on your kitchen counter. Dietitians have stayed consistent on this point for years. Rachel Murphy at MD Anderson put it bluntly, warning that if you drink your okra rather than eating it, you could be missing out on an important health benefit. Soluble fiber pulled loose by soaking never replaces the insoluble fiber locked in the pod walls and seeds. She went further, saying the evidence behind the popular claims is still 100% anecdotal because there is very limited research. Angela Graham, a registered dietitian nutritionist and owner of the Dispersed Dietitian, said eating whole okra would deliver far more fiber, nutrients, and health advantages than drinking the water it's soaked in. Ro Huntress, a registered dietitian and chief nutrition officer at Simple App, said there is little robust evidence behind the bigger health claims, and it should never replace medical advice or standard treatment. Nobody has established how much of okra's nutrient content actually crosses into the water. The comparison that keeps surfacing is orange juice with the pulp removed, missing the exact component that made the fruit useful. Most of the gut-friendly fiber stays locked inside the pod, and trend followers throw the pod away. And that flavonoid finding from earlier closes the loop, because isoquercetin and quercetin, 3-O-gentylbio say, showed up only in the seeds, and the seeds go straight in the bin, which brings the whole thing down to 5 days. Soluble fiber trials that produced a significant HbA1c reduction used roughly 13 grams per day across about 8 weeks, and the studies that ran longer than 6 weeks were the ones that found the effect at all. 6 grams per day of concentrated oat beta-glucan across 6 weeks significantly reduced total and LDL cholesterol in people with elevated levels. Fiber intervention studies in general run 3 to 30 grams per day for 4 to 13 weeks. The okra trials themselves stretched from 2 weeks to 3 months, with the bulk sitting at 8 weeks. A hard biological limit sits underneath all of it. HbA1c reflects roughly 2 to 3 months of average blood glucose, so it physically cannot move inside 5 days regardless of what fills your glass. One assessment of the trend recommended measuring fasting glucose, HbA1c, and fasting insulin at the 12-week mark precisely so you catch a metabolically meaningful shift rather than a same-morning fluctuation. The closest thing to a genuine test of the trend preparation came out of Indonesia. 3 fresh okra pods were washed, sliced into 3 parts, and soaked in 250 milliliters of drinking water for 8 to 10 hours. Participants with type 2 diabetes drank it once each morning before breakfast across 2 weeks. Mean fasting blood sugar dropped significantly in the intervention group at a p-value of 0.00, while the control group barely moved at a p-value of 0.85. 3 of the studies in this space came out of Indonesia, from Haryati and Ramawati in 2019, Sarbini and colleagues that same year, and Kodija and colleagues in 2020. That study matches the trend better than anything else on record, and it still ran 14 days rather than 5, inside a small, unblinded, single-region design. 5 days does leave room for a few honest changes. Hydration shifts because you are adding fluid to your day, and that counts as a real, if thoroughly unglamorous benefit. Your post-meal glucose response can shift on the days you drink it because viscous fiber works meal by meal instead of accumulating over weeks. Bowel regularity shifts. Subjective fullness shifts. Things shift the other direction too. Gut bacteria ferment the fructans in okra and produce gas as a byproduct, and drinking a large volume straight out of the gate can trigger bloating or digestive discomfort, particularly if your usual diet runs low in fiber. Reports of flattened morning bloating by day 3 and extra energy by day 5 circulate everywhere, and yet those reports are self-reported, uncontrolled, unmeasured, and tangled up with drinking more water and paying closer attention to everything else you eat. 5 days cannot move HbA1c, a lipid panel shift you could credit to okra, or meaningful fat loss. On weight specifically, the evidence leaves no room for interpretation. The 2025 meta-analysis found no significant effect on BMI or body weight. A separate systematic review found okra intake failed to change body weight or BMI significantly. No scientific evidence supports the idea that okra water speeds up metabolism or burns fat, and physicians reviewing the trend concluded that any perceived weight loss traces back to other behavioral changes, like eating more healthily or cutting sugary drinks. One doctor called the trend a waste of time outright. A dietitian review landed in the same place, finding very little clinical evidence that okra water carries any meaningful impact on blood sugar levels. A handful of cautions deserve far more attention than the trend gives them. The most serious one came out of a 2011 study in ISRN Pharmaceutics by Khatoon and colleagues, run in Long Evans rats. Researchers gave the animals the water-soluble fraction of okra alongside metformin. Metformin on its own drove blood glucose from 32 down to 14. 9 millimoles per liter inside 4 hours. Metformin paired with the okra water-soluble fraction moved glucose from 33.5 to 32.2, which the authors described as a nearly complete loss of the anti-hyperglycemic effect. They traced the interaction to fiber physically entrapping the drug, and they cautioned that type 2 diabetes patients should take care with metformin around a meal containing lady's finger, recommending the two never be taken together. This came out of rats, and it should stay labeled as a rat study rather than inflated into a human finding. It is also exactly the kind of signal worth knowing before you pair a daily fiber drink with a daily medication. Guar gum, another soluble fiber, was separately found to reduce metformin absorption across the first 6 hours, which lends the whole idea real plausibility. Okra carries oxalates, which contribute to kidney stone formation, so daily okra water is a poor choice for anyone with a history of stones. Okra's vitamin K content interferes with blood thinners such as warfarin. On FODMAPs, Monash University testing places okra in the low range at moderate servings of roughly 60 to 75 grams cooked, about half a cup, though portions past 90 grams push into moderate territory and introduce fructans and galacto-oligosaccharides capable of triggering bloating and discomfort. People living with IBS or IBD may notice changes in stool. A plain food safety issue rounds out the list, because the soaking liquid makes a hospitable medium for bacterial growth at room temperature, so the guidance is to refrigerate through the soak and discard within 24 hours. MD Anderson advises talking to a doctor before drinking okra water if you are diabetic, taking blood thinners, prone to kidney stones, or living with food sensitivities or IBS. Expert consensus lands on okra water being low risk overall, provided nobody treats it as a substitute for medical treatment of a chronic condition. 5 days of okra water did not change everything. The more interesting question is why anyone framed it that way to begin with. Okra is a genuinely good vegetable, and the research treats it well. Okra supplementation lowers fasting blood glucose in people with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes by somewhere between roughly 15 and 22 milligrams per deciliter, depending on which meta-analysis you read. It improves all 4 standard lipid markers across pooled clinical data. The soluble fiber mechanism driving those effects is real and well understood. One 14-day study of soaked okra water did lower fasting blood sugar in people who drank it. What the research never supports is the leap from any of that to a 5-day transformation delivered by a jar of water with the vegetable removed. Those trials ran grams of okra across weeks and months. The trend runs 3 pods overnight, then throws away the seeds, the pod walls, and the insoluble fiber that made the vegetable worth eating in the first place. If the science genuinely interests you, the intervention with real evidence behind it is neither complicated nor new. Eat the okra.